There is a picture the Pacific Northwest likes to hold up to the window. Moss hanging from cedar branches, coffee cooling on the porch railing, the soft percussion of rain on a Gore-Tex hood as you step onto another trail you found on an app. You tell yourself you see this place. You hike it. You name the ferns. You post the bridge. And because you do all of that, you believe there is nothing here that has not already been looked at. But looking is not the same as seeing. And the Pacific Northwest has built an entire culture around the idea that loving the outdoors is the same thing as knowing what lives in them. Today we are counting down 15 animals hiding in the Pacific Northwest, ranked not by which one is largest or most dangerous, but by how completely they have stayed out of the frame you carry of this place. Most of these animals live within an hour of a major city. Some of them live in your yard, and by the time we reach number 1, you may understand why the emptiest feeling on the trail is not emptiness at all. Before we start, if this is the kind of thing that keeps your mind turning after dark, go ahead and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and it helps the channel. And while you are here, I want to know one thing. Where in the Pacific Northwest are you watching from? Drop your town or your trail in the comments. Now let us get into the list. Number 15, the coastal giant salamander. It lives in the clear mountain streams of western Oregon and Washington, under rocks and leaf litter, in water so cold it numbs your fingers. This is not the small, dark salamander from a pet store. An adult can reach 13 inches from nose to tail, making it the largest terrestrial salamander in North America. It eats almost anything it can grab, from slugs to smaller salamanders, and when threatened, it opens its mouth and barks, not a chirp. A bark like a small dog, coming from a pool in the forest you have stepped over 100 times. Here is the denial. You see the stream and you register the water. You do not register the animal beneath the rock that has lived in that same pool for more than a decade. It is too large to be invisible and too strange to be scenery, so the mind files it under moss and moving water. Number 15 belongs to the stream monster you step over while adjusting your trekking poles. Number 14, Trowbridge's shrew. It weighs less than a nickel. It lives under the cedar duff in a Seattle backyard and in the mulch beneath the rhododendron in a Portland garden. Trowbridge's shrew is one of the most common small mammals in the Pacific Northwest, and it is a pure predator. It must eat more than its own body weight every day, or it dies. Its heart beats 900 times a minute. To fuel that engine, it tears through leaf litter in a constant panic of hunger, killing insects, spiders, and anything else it meets. Here is the denial. You think of predators as hawks overhead or coyotes at the alley's end. You do not think of the tiny red-toothed hunter tunneling under your raised bed while you're laying under your raised bed. You drink your coffee 3 feet away. The shrew is too small and too fast to be wildlife. It is classified as a pest by the same mind that claims to love nature. Number 14 is the carnivore under your porch that you never bothered to name. Number 13, the northern alligator lizard. There is only one lizard native to the coastal Pacific Northwest west of the Cascades, and this is it. It gives live birth, which is almost unheard of among lizards. It can grow to 10 inches, with keeled scales and a tail that snaps off if grabbed, and it lives in exactly the places people have tamed into suburban habitat. Rock walls, wood piles, the overgrown edge of a greenbelt, the ivy-choked fence in an alley. Here is the denial. People assume the cool rain and the gray sky have screened out anything reptilian. So when the alligator lizard slides through the monkey grass, the eye calls it a snake or a worm or nothing at all. It is a refugee in its own range, invisible because it does not match the brochure. Number 13 belongs to the only lizard in the rainforest. Number 12, the mountain beaver. This animal is not a beaver. It is not aquatic. It is a living fossil, the sole survivor of an ancient family of rodents that branched off before true beavers ever existed. It looks like a guinea pig the size of a rabbit with short ears and a stubbed tail, and it is everywhere, from the bluffs outside Seattle to the hills above Eugene. The mountain beaver tunnels through damp earth and builds extensive underground colonies in exactly the suburban greenbelts and roadside thickets that look empty to you. Here is the denial. You see the fresh cuts on the salmonberry cane, and you blame a rabbit. You see the mound of excavated dirt, and you blame a mole. The mountain beaver has no flat tail, no lodge, no public profile. It is the most common mammal in the Pacific Northwest that most residents have never heard of. Number 12 is the ghost contractor working the hillside while you are at the office. Number 11, Townsend's big-eared bat. Its ears are longer than its own head. In a roost, it curls them back like dried leaves against its body, and when it hunts, it unfurls them to catch the whisper of a moth in the dark. This bat does not live in a distant cave. It lives in abandoned mine shafts in eastern Washington, in the attics of Willamette Valley barns, in the roof spaces of coastal outbuildings from Astoria to Port Angeles. Colonies can number in the hundreds. Here is the denial. The Pacific Northwest thinks of bats as Halloween decorations. People believe these animals are rare, fragile, and far away. In truth, Townsend's big-eared bat has been roosting inside structures within 10 miles of downtown Portland since before the city had pavement. The denial is architectural. If it is not in the wilderness, we do not count it. Number 11 goes to the bat with ears like leaves, listening in your barn. Number 10, the bobcat. It is the size of a large house cat with a half-length tail and paws built for silence. And it is in the cities. Camera traps in the suburban greenbelts outside Seattle and Portland have caught bobcats crossing yards at 2 in the morning. They hunt the park edges of Salem and the golf course roughs outside Tacoma, where rabbits feed at dawn. An adult weighs up to 30 pounds and can clear 10 feet in a single leap. Here is the denial. You see a tabby cat at the edge of the flashlight beam, or you tell yourself it was a dog, or you simply do not look up from your phone. The bobcat does not howl. It does not leave dramatic tracks. It moves through the same neighborhoods you believe belong to joggers and delivery trucks, and it moves through them as a predator. Number 10 belongs to the cat that does not need the forest. The forest is wherever the rabbits are. Number 9, the harbor seal. You think of this animal lying on a rock in the San Juan Islands barking at kayakers. But the harbor seal in the Pacific Northwest has learned to follow the salmon inland, through the locks in Seattle, into the fresh water of Lake Washington, up the Columbia River, past the bridges and grain elevators. They have been documented far inland, holding station in river currents, hunting in water that contains no salt. Here is the denial. Freshwater means safe. Freshwater means ocean predators stayed behind. So when the dark head breaks the surface of the lake behind the swimmers, the mind files it under fluke, under weird, under will not happen again. It does happen again. The same seals return by the same route year after year, and the city built around the lake agrees not to mention them. Number 9 is the marine mammal that went inland while everyone was looking at the skyline. Number 8. The northern goshawk. We are at the halfway mark. And if you are still here, you actually want to know what is out there. From here, the list stops being something you can walk away from. The northern goshawk is a forest hawk, built like a weapon. Short wings for threading through timber, long tail for the pivot, eyes set forward for binocular depth in low canopy. It nests in the old growth of the Olympics and the Cascades, and when humans approach during breeding season, it attacks. Not a warning pass, a strike with talons extended, aimed at the head. Hikers on the Seven Lakes Basin Trail and the Upper Hoh have reported being driven back by repeated dives, the bird screaming like tearing metal. Here is the denial. People hike the Olympics believing the only risk is weather. They do not look up into the shadowed canopy and expect hostility from above. The goshawk does not soar in open sky for you to photograph. It hides in the vertical world of trunk and branch, and it defends that world with a violence that contradicts the gentle moss you came to see. Number 8 belongs to the hawk that owns the forest ceiling. Number 7, the fisher. It is a weasel stretched to the size of a house cat, low to the ground, blackish brown, with a face like a wedge and teeth that crack bone. Fishers were nearly erased from Washington by trapping and logging, and then in 2008, biologists began releasing them back into the Olympic Mountains. Around 90 animals went in. They are breeding now, they are spreading, and they are specialists at killing porcupines, flipping them to get at the unquilled belly, a method so efficient it seems engineered. Here is the denial. The Pacific Northwest believes it rescued this animal. The story is told as a triumph of conservation, which makes it easy to forget that the fisher is not a mascot. It is a hyper-aggressive predator that moves through the snow at night with the metabolism of a furnace. It does not need your admiration. It needs the dark, and the dark in the Olympics is absolute. Number 7 is the weasel that came back while nobody was checking the trail cam. Number 6, the wolverine. If the fisher is fire, the wolverine is ice. It is a heavy-shouldered, short-legged brute that looks more bear than weasel, and it ranges across terrain that breaks most animals. In the North Cascades, camera traps have captured wolverines walking ridgelines in blinding snow. In the Wallowa Mountains of Oregon, remote stations have picked them up at elevation, alone covering vast distances between meals. A wolverine can crunch through a frozen elk carcass and has the jaw power to crack femurs. Here is the denial. The Pacific Northwest has convinced itself that the wolverine is a myth, a logo for a college team, an animal of Alaska too severe for the damp Cascades. The detections are real. The tracks are real. But because the animal needs more space than any park can hold, and because seeing one requires more luck than skill, the public mind has filed it under extinct. It is not extinct. It is uninterested in being seen. Number 6 belongs to the phantom that walks above the tree line. Number 5, the gray wolf. Wolves were systematically destroyed in Washington and Oregon by the early 1900s, shot and poisoned out of the landscape by ranchers and government programs alike. Then in 2008, a pack called Lookout was confirmed in Okanogan County, the first in Washington in over 70 years. Now there are multiple packs. The Teenaway, the Sherman. Strays have crossed into the Mount St. Helens area. In Oregon, the Imnaha pack and others have established territory. Trail cameras catch them. Livestock reports confirm them. Here is the denial. The Pacific Northwest believes wolves belong to Yellowstone documentaries. They are placed in the category of animals the West is fighting over, but not here. Not in the wet Cascades, where people hike with dogs. The maps say they are eastern. The political debate says they are theoretical. The trail cameras say they are walking the same ridgelines at dawn that weekend backpackers use at noon. Number 5 is the animal that came back while the state was still arguing about whether to miss it. Number 4, the great white shark. The water off the Pacific Northwest is cold, green, and heavy with plankton. The usual assumption is that the great white ends its range somewhere south of Point Reyes. It does not. White sharks transit the Oregon and Washington coast in autumn, following salmon runs and seal colonies that gather at river mouths. Juveniles feed in the California current, and adults move north. There are confirmed sightings. There are tagged animals that have pinged in these waters. And every fall, surfers paddle out at Seaside, at Newport, at Long Beach, floating on the surface of a food chain they have placed out of mind. Here is the denial. Cold water feels safe. The Pacific Northwest Ocean is scenery, mood, the backdrop to a bonfire on Cannon Beach. It is not processed as the hunting ground of the largest predatory fish on Earth. The great white does not breach here as often as it does in South Africa, but it is here. It is simply doing what it has always done. Hunting below the chop where the wetsuits float. Number 4 belongs to the shark that swims the thermocline while the coast turns its back to the water. Number 3, the blunt-nosed six-gill shark. If the great white is the shark you do not expect in the cold, the six-gill is the shark you do not expect at all. It is a primitive species, closer to the sharks of the Jurassic than to anything swimming today. It has 6 gill slits instead of the usual 5. It grows to 16 feet, longer than many great whites, with a single dorsal fin set far back and small fluorescent eyes. It lives in the deep waters of Puget Sound and the Strait of Juan de Fuca, usually holding below 300 feet, where light ends. Researchers in Seattle have tagged them, tracked them on the bottom, watched them glide past cameras in the black water beneath the ferry lanes. They are scavengers and ambush predators, old beyond human measure, living in the same basin where people kayak and drop crab pots. Here is the denial. You look at Puget Sound and you see a postcard. You do not see the ancient predator holding still in the trench beneath the shipping lanes, older as a design than the mountains that frame the water. The six-gill shark is not a wandering stray. It is resident, native, and enormous. Number 3 is the dinosaur that never left the Sound. Number 2, the giant Pacific octopus. It is the largest octopus species on Earth, with a recorded span of more than 20 feet, from arm-tip to arm-tip, and a body that can weigh more than 150 pounds. Its blood is blue. It has 3 hearts, and it lives in Puget Sound, in the cold, dark water, under the piers of Seattle, in the rock piles of Hood Canal, in the sunken debris of the Salish seafloor. It can fit through an opening the size of a grapefruit. It can solve puzzles. It can recognize individual humans. Here is the denial. The Pacific Northwest prides itself on marine knowledge. People know the orcas by name. They adopt the salmon. They do not know, or they choose not to think about, the alien intelligence holding still in a den 200 yards from the ferry terminal, watching with eyes built on a completely different blueprint from anything human. It is too strange to be local, too large to be hiding in plain sight. But it is there, changing color to match the rock, waiting for the crab to pass. Number 2 belongs to the mind in the tide pool that is not a fish and not a mammal and not something you ever learned to see. Number 1, the cougar. Washington has an estimated 2,000 of them. Oregon has around 6,000. They are not in the backcountry. They are the backcountry. A male cougar's territory can cover 200 square miles, and in the Pacific Northwest, those territories overlap with every major population corridor. They have been photographed in the suburbs east of Seattle. They are caught on camera in the snow on Snoqualmie Pass. They walk the logging roads outside Eugene at dusk. They see you before you know the trail has begun. The cougar does not howl. It does not leave sign where you will find it. Its tawny coat matches the dead grass and the shadow of the fir. And when it stands still, it becomes the forest itself. Hikers in the Cascades have passed within 10 feet of a cougar without knowing it. The animal simply waits for the footsteps to fade, and then it continues across the path you thought was yours. Here is the denial. The Pacific Northwest believes the trail belongs to the hiker. It believes that carrying a water bottle and a downloaded map is a form of relationship with the wild. The cougar exposes that as theater. It does not hide because the forest is thick. It hides because it is better at seeing than you are at looking. And in a region that has built its identity on knowing nature, there is nothing more invisible than the predator that knows you are there. Number 1 is the animal that was never hiding from you. You were hiding from it. We started with the rain on the Gore-Tex hood and the assumption that the trail could be read like an app. We have passed through the stream with the barking salamander, the bat in the barn, the goshawk screaming in the canopy, the six-gill shark in the trench, and the octopus under the pier. The Pacific Northwest is not a place that has been tamed by good intentions. It is a place that has agreed to be photographed while holding most of its life out of frame. The animals never signed that agreement. They are in the backyard. They are under the dock. They are in the canopy above the trail and in the dark below your kayak. And the quietest thing in the forest is not the moss or the rain. It is the certainty that you are alone, because you are not.